the name of the state of Maine, you are hereby required to notify and warn the inhabitants of the town of Raymond, qualified by law to vote in town affairs, to meet at the broadcast studio at 423 Webbs Mills Road in said town on Tuesday, October 8th, 2019 at 6 p.m., then and there, to act on Articles 1 through 2 as set out below. Article 1, to elect a moderator to preside at said meeting.
I make a motion for Joe Bruno.
Second.
Is there any other nominations? So, if I could have some
I don't have a
votes.
pen.
Shall we
because-
do?
Yeah.
Just two of us?
I wouldn't wear them.
Thank
They look too,
you.
whatever, to me.
Can I have your vote, Mr. Gifford?
Write a name on it.
This is upside here.
So far, you're ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you. So you won. So if you could raise your right hand and say I do or I will after I read at you. I, Joe Bruno, do swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and of this state, so long as I shall continue a citizen thereof, so help me God.
I do.
I do swear that I will faithfully discharge to the best of my abilities the duties incumbent on me as moderator for the town of Raven for the October 8th, 2019 special town meeting according to the Constitution and laws of the state, so help me God.
I do.
So if I could have your autograph.
You got it.
Thank you. And I'll take care of my signature tomorrow. Yes, ma'am. I know.
She's gonna slap you later.
Okay. Article 2, to see if the town will vote to appropriate monies not to exceed $78,000 from undesignated fund balance surplus to replace the leased Central Maine Power street lights with high-efficiency, light-emitting diode LED town-owned street lights. The Select Board recommends Article 2. The Budget Finance Committee recommends by a vote of 6-1 Article 2.
Motion to recommend Article 2.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Mrs. Desjardins.
Thank you, Mr. Bruno. First, why wasn't the audience allowed to vote on the moderator?
It wasn't not being allowed to, it's only required to have 3 ballots. If you had asked to vote, you certainly could have.
Well, I'm asking right now.
Well, would you like a ballot?
I would love a ballot, ma'am. And, you know, it's probably too late now, but you know what? This is where I'm coming from, okay? Let me read from the 2019 Annual Town Report, Raymond, Maine, in accordance to this article, okay, Mr. Bruno? And, you know, Article 40 seeks to see if the town will vote to authorize the Select Board to appropriate from undesignated fund balance surplus to reduce the property tax commitment as the Select Board deemed advisable at an amount not to exceed $300,000. That vote was unanimously voted upon at town meeting. Now, what we're doing here is at the Select Board meeting, they decided to use less money and then appropriate the money for this new article, this special town meeting, which I truly believe should be going through the budget process in 2020. The 2019 budget had room for it, and the reason they didn't do it is because they would have been over the they increased the budget by 7.6%. And that would have put them over. Now, in the past years, Joe, when you were on the board and there were other people, and I'm not going to mention their names, we pushed back. This board is not pushing back on using the undesignated funds for real emergencies. Real emergencies. Special town meetings are being created without warrant. They're manipulating the budget the budget process and the election process. They're having elections when there's no people around, and it happened with the school vote on the withdrawal, and it's happening on this vote. People voted on Article 40 to spend $300,000 on tax reduction, not on lights. And I'm all in favor of the lights. No doubt in my mind, I'm in favor of the lights. There's no problem with saving money, but there is a budget process in this town, and it's been around for a long time, and these people are doing away with it. And I don't want to be part of it, and I'm on the budget committee, and I have no clue why the budget committee isn't sitting here with these people here at a town meeting. Thank you, sir.
Anybody else? Brian?
Got here in the nick of time. Brian Walker, Plains Road. I had a couple of questions, if that's okay. Cool.
Direct your questions to the moderator.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely, yeah. So they were really just kind of basic fees, or basic questions. Does the fee that, the maintenance fee, the $26.40, does that include all parts, labor, servicing? Is there anything that would not be in that, and for how long would that maintenance contract be good for? How long would they cover?
Don, I'll let you.
The fixtures themselves are warranted for a significantly long period of time. I want to say it's, do you know, Crayla, do you have that in the materials?
I can find it.
If you, hold on, we'll find that, but it's
Okay.
it's measured in years. It's,
Okay.
I want to say 10 or 15 years, and so they have a useful life of over 20 before you could expect any problems. So the answer would be, as far as no parts are expected, but I guess in the occurrence that you were to have parts needed, they'd be under warranty for the foreseeable future. So that would be the labor component.
Okay.
They predict maintenance will cost $24 a year per light.
Well, that's what they have budgeted for the contract, it sounds like. We got about 100 lights, a little over 100 lights.
Okay.
But so I guess, I don't know if that answers your question or not, but we're not, LEDs are eminently reliable. We're not expecting to replace them anytime soon.
My question was, my only concern, I think this is a great idea, I just wanted to check and make sure that there isn't anything, and I know you guys have thought through this, but just that would be something that in later years down the road would suddenly become an expense. So that we look at it now and we say, okay, we're going to spend this money, and then we have a small amount, and then at some point the cost of the lights increases because of things like maintenance, labor, et cetera. And you'll see a number of questions.
One can't predict the future, but I should tell you the existing light inventory is an average of 26 years old. And so some of them are significantly older than 26 years, if you have an average of 26 years. So we've got some really old technology out there that's very power intensive. And so as for the future, my hope would be, if you look at the past as your guide, that we become more energy efficient and the costs would come down. But I can't predict the future, but
Yeah.
but certainly we're not facing the situation that we would have in the past with high pressure sodium fixtures and bulbs, and that is constant maintenance. I say constant maintenance, they're very reliable, but constant maintenance compared to LEDs.
Another question?
Yes, Mr. Moderator. The second question is, does CMP charge for the poles if we're not renting their lights?
I don't know the answer to that one, but
I
I
can
don't
answer
think
that, yes.
they're not going to charge us for the light on the pole. I mean, once we remove we have to buy out the remaining life of the fixtures. We take them off the pole, end of story, as far as lighting goes.
But are we not putting a new light up on that?
Yes, we
pole?
are putting a new light up on the pole, and the costs that are incumbent upon that, now it's a town-owned fixture.
So is there no cost? Will the town have to pay CMP a fee for placing the town-owned lamp or light on the pole?
Not to my knowledge, no.
We have to do a buyout.
We did the buyout, right,
Okay.
that's it.
We have to do a buyout. After that, we own the fixtures.
Okay.
We own the fixtures, but he's asking whether there's a
But they
rental
own the
fee on the
pole.
pole.
No.
I don't know if the CMP, I've never seen them being that altruistic about anything. So
Well,
just curious.
They own some of the poles. I don't know if they own all the poles, the various utility, but they own the majority of the poles. You're correct about that.
Okay. if there's a problem with electrical delivery, so there's this question about, we own the light fixture, there's electricity running to it, correct?
Right.
There's an electrical problem. Who manages the fact that the light is out?
We manage if the light's out, we manage that. The delivery, which will be all overhead, is CMP, and they have to continue with that. There was an article in the newspaper about Portland's difficulties, but that's underground power. And that is the dilemma, by the way, that we face with our own ornamental streetlights, is that it's underground power, and when something goes wrong there, as it did this past winter, then we have a hard choice to make. Are we going to excavate and repair it in the winter, or wait till spring like we did? But that's not the case with these lights. These lights are all fed overhead. And that's CMP. They deliver the power, we own the light.
Okay. I may have misunderstood the maintenance. I asked the question, who manages the maintenance of the lights?
We do.
The town does.
We own them, we maintain them.
Do we have the appropriate equipment needed to access lights, cherry picker?
That's what Real Term's contract is for, the $2,600.
All right, so now I'm a little confused. I thought we were managing the lights, but Real Term's got a contract.
We have a contract. You talked at the beginning about the maintenance agreement, the maintenance
Okay, so-
contract.
okay.
That's Real Term.
That's Real Term.
And they obviously have great confidence in the system and in the technology, if you look at that cost, right?
So, but what happens if the light goes out, does the town call Real Term and say,
Yes.
hey, light 106 is out, go
Yes.
check it out?
And
And they do that?
We're going to get smart controls, so we'll actually be able to see on a desktop the status of the lights, whether they're out, how they're tuned. We can tune them up or down for intensity. If we have a public safety emergency, let's say, and we want to flash them in a certain area, or if we had a motor vehicle accident where there's lights, we can turn them up high. We can actually turn them down to increase the useful life of them significantly beyond what's already a really long useful life. So there's all kinds of options. We're opting for smart controls.
Okay. And then the last question is, and I'm sorry for being ill-prepared, because I was thinking it was 6:30. I had 6:30 in my brain. We currently have money that was allocated in the budget last year for streetlights, I think in 3 places. There's the ornamental lights, which are part of the 302 maintenance, then we have the $23,000, which would be our ongoing, CMP. I'm looking to you. Sorry, Don, I'm looking to the moderator. For the $23,000, and then I believe we have $6,000 also in the TIF. That was kind of, I think, allocated. Are any of those monies included or calculated into the overall amount needed to, if this passes, to execute? And if not, could any of those monies be allocated to that? Is there any overlaps, in other words, where some of those monies could be utilized to reduce the ultimate net cost?
Well, we're going to maintain the system until we replace it. And so it's looking like, although I was hopeful that it was going to happen faster than it is now going to happen, but we're working with 3 other towns. We're working with Gorham and Standish and Wyndham. So I think we're looking at sometime in the winter. So we're going to have to continue to pay our CMP utility bill to that point. So I suppose you could say that there would be some excess. But the way we're looking at this is that I believe it was like a 4.5 year, 4-point-something year payback on this. But we haven't specifically gone out and say we're going to allocate that, because we don't really know how much we're going to have, and we've got to have lighting. So, but you may be right. I mean, there may be some small balance that's left in that account, which would then go back into fund balance.
Okay. So it just go into the...
It'll just go back to fund balance.
Okay.
Yeah. Probably there will be, but I can't say how much.
Okay. And then the last question was just around Real Term Energy.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you guys have fully vetted them and their viability as an organization, the quality of the products, and I just am wondering, I'm assuming, are they going to have some type of presence then in the southern Maine area so that they can service lights on a regular
Yeah.
basis?
Yes. I don't know if you took a look at the packet online. Did you see the packet online?
I did, yeah.
Yeah. Then you might probably notice that they have done. I mean, I could read the towns, but it's
17 are on the list.
17 on there that Real Term has, and then they list the towns that they're doing smart controls with. And so we started out as kind of a semi-early adopter, but this process dragged along a little bit because of the various schedules of the various towns. Now we're all synced up, ready to go as a consortium, buying together and using joint purchasing. those 4 towns. But there are literally, I would say at this point, dozens of towns behind us. It seems like Realterm is, although they're not the sole provider, is definitely the predominant provider, particularly when you look at the larger municipalities. There are some exceptions, but if you look down through the list, you'll see that there are some pretty big jurisdictions that went Realterm. There was one other provider that we looked at. We did interviews in the Wyndham Town office, the 4 towns together. There was a due diligence, vetting process conducted by the Town of Wyndham Economic Development Department with representation from the 3 other towns. So I guess the answer is we're confident in Realterm and their ability to complete the project. And in checking with these other towns that have already done projects, we don't get anybody saying that they didn't perform as they represented that they would.
And were there any assurances about their longevity in terms of being able to manage the maintenance contract on an ongoing basis? Is there any contractual obligation for them?
Not beyond the first contract, but the thought actually is that we may possibly look at, many of these larger jurisdictions have municipal lighting departments,
Right.
so they didn't opt, some of them didn't opt for Realterm. So the idea would be, perhaps in the future, I don't think Wyndham has a municipal lighting department at this point, but Scarborough does, and certainly Portland, South Portland, places like that do. So there may be opportunities for us to work with other towns regionally on maintenance. But if everything goes to pieces, then you can contract with somebody like an AD Electric who helps us, or has helped us with the inventory on 302, or even somebody, Heyman Electric, they've helped us, somebody locally. So it's not rocket science. You can get a private sector contractor that's not Realterm. But we went Realterm in the initial phase because, it's one package and it makes sense.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Has the board consulted their electrical contractor on this? Or the administrators?
I don't know
What
you
does
mean.
JT Hayman, are they out of the picture? Are they gonna be, why weren't they allowed to bid on this project?
Well, they're probably.
They're licensed union electricians, and we're taking work away from licensed union electricians, and we're not even giving them a chance to bid this? Why was revision all of a sudden, why did it come to the picture? I'm just curious.
Revision has nothing to do with that. That's solar energy.
And I'm
This is,
talking to the moderator, actually. The moderator,
Yeah, you mean Realterm,
Realterm,
yeah, not
Yeah.
Revision.
revision.
No, Revision.
No, revision's the
Solar panels.
solar.
Right, so your question is about Realterm and
Realterm,
how did they
yes.
get the bid? Was
Yes.
it-
Well, what happened was Realterm and another provider submitted proposals, and we had a RFQ, so we issued that as a group of towns. So any and all comers, including Heyman Electric or anybody else in the world who wanted to provide that service, could have been responsive. And then now, after we made the selection for Realterm, then they went and talked to various electrical contractors. So they had a solicitation to see who might be interested, because they're going to sub that work, as you suggest. They're not going to be probably doing that in a lot of these far-flung communities. I mean, they're not going to set up shop in these towns. They're going to use local providers, my guess. And so if Heyman Electric or anybody else wanted to be responsive to that solicitation, or wanted to contact the towns to see how they might get in touch with Realterm, then we certainly would have put them in touch. I got no inquiries from any local electricians, but had they contacted me, I would have definitely put them in touch.
Now, does Realterm have any licensed master electricians on board?
I'm sure if they're in the electrical lighting business, they
Well,
have.
no, because I know people that have done this. I remember the boom with the fluorescent lighting. Everybody wanted to go to we had a man here in Raymond that owned a lighting company, Steve Eastman, and he wasn't a master electrician, and he had a lighting company. Is this company that we're hiring, do they have licensed people? I know more about lighting than most people in here, and I'm not
The people
afraid to say
the
that,
people
but-
who will be doing the work on the system will be licensed electricians, rest assured. The
Well,
people who will be doing the work on the system.
I've seen other towns that have done this, and they're using people that aren't not licensed, because it's not a big job to do, and there's a lot of people that are avoiding the licensing fee, and that's what we gotta make sure of. We have to make sure of that these people that are doing this work are licensed, insured, and please, Don, let me finish, all right? I know you're biting at the bit here, but it's just, we are bad at doing this stuff, because we do not hire people who are qualified most of the time to do the job that needs to be done. And, you know, it's just, it's sad to say that, but if this company does not have a master electrician on board, I don't even know why we're even considering this.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say to that, except it's a pure fiction, and I would tell you that there are no issues around that. And Central Maine Power has to check off on anybody who's going to remove their fixtures, which is what's happening. They've been very resistant to having it be done by anybody but people who they thoroughly vet.
Can you
So
blame
that's
them?
so that is a pure fiction.
Can you blame CMP?
I don't really have anything else to say.
I wouldn't let, if I owned that pole, I wouldn't let anybody out there without insurance or a master electrician. And guess what? The power we're gonna be getting is gonna be coming from CMP. And there's no reason for this meeting to happen tonight, because it's not an emergency. It's special because that's what these people want up there. And that's all I'm saying. Thank you.
Anybody else? It's your chance. Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor? Opposed? It passes. I will adjourn the town meeting. Thank you.
Thank you all, you guys. I think that's an